I think that I can speak for a lot of us when I say that some of our favorite games from childhood are only there by coincidence. Sometimes you just happen to get into a game that a friend's mom picked up or you just happen to stumble into, and so you and all your friends end up getting into it too. For me and a lot of folks that I grew up with, that game was Red Steel on the Wii. Red Steel, in case you forgot, or maybe you just don't even know, was a pretty poorly reviewed launch title back for the Wii in 2006. It was made by Ubisoft and partially meant to improve the mature factor of the Wii's launch lineup. These days, the game is pretty notorious for being buggy and overall just a bad experience. Red Steel features a full single-player campaign with a pretty by-the-numbers story and a bunch of levels that kinda just get the job done. It's a first-person shooter with sword fighting sections that most of the time don't even work at all. I think its only lasting legacy now is that they had the guy pointing at the TV shooting during the commercials. But the thing is, when you've got a bunch of kids and none of them can access COD 4, you're gonna play with what you got. And so back in the late 2000s, when none of us had access to a PS3 or a 360, we settled on Red Steel. And the thing is, after some time, we had developed a little metagame out of it. We knew what guns were good, we had preferred characters and maps, and we even found a few bugs, exploits, and other tricks in the game. I think we probably played that multiplayer more than anyone who worked at Ubisoft even thought about it. So I guess I'm making this video as a sort of love letter to all the games that maybe aren't that great, but you had a lot of fun with playing locally with your buddies. When you start up Red Steel Versus, you're given an option between 3 game modes: Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, and a special Assassin mode. We would mostly do free-for-all, maybe a few Team Deathmatch games, but we didn't really bother much with the mission mode. The special Assassin mission mode sort of overcomplicates things, but it does make cool use of the Wii Remote speaker. Basically, the Wii Remote acts as a phone that gives you instructions for who to target. We just wanted to shoot each other, so we didn't bother.
Hello? Hello?
Find an assault rifle to kill the mystery player.
Oh!
So one editor side note that I actually found out just a bit ago is that the volume control on the Wii Remote actually messes with the way that Red Steel tracks your aim. So actually, I think if you were to play killer mode, the aim system would just completely freak out. Mechanically, it's a very simple game. You aim and shoot with the remote, and then you can jump and move and crouch with the nunchuck. Everything you do in the standard FPS, you probably do in Red Steel. You can sort of aim down sights while holding the A button, but since we disabled the single-player style lock-on, it doesn't do much. The lock-on barely helped anyways. Pressing the D-pad and shaking the nunchuck would throw a grenade. The grenades are actually pretty strong, and they can get people out of cover like in any other game. There is also a bonus mechanic where if you build up a meter through kills, you can activate it to get increased health or firing speed or damage. Typically we wouldn't use it because the ammo mode would also increase the fire rate and make your gun insanely strong. Honestly, we would just forget it's even there most of the time. Everyone also starts with the same default pistol, the M40, and it's incredibly strong. It's probably optimal to just stick to the main pistol that you get and try to headshot people. The M40 pistol can take out anybody with just one headshot, and it's actually quite a bit of fun to get into a little pistol duel and try to get the first headshot. The only other good guns I would say would be the revolver and the sniper rifle.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
The revolver has a low fire rate, but it can one-shot people who have armor. Yeah, sort of like in Quake, there's armor pickups throughout the map, so if you got really sweaty, you could actually do a little bit of Quake-style map control. And as far as I know, the sniper is just a one-shot no matter what. One really weird aspect is actually the knife system. I guess it's technically a short sword, but it's the game's knife. When you're medium to close range on a target, you can see a little icon and shake the nunchuck to charge at them with the knife. If you connect, you'll stun them for a few seconds and you can aim to get the kill. But if for whatever reason you're not killed while you're stunned, you'll get a chance to fight back. The knifing is really janky and it seems overpowered at first, but there is a little counterplay. While you're doing the charge, you can still get shot and you're putting yourself at risk of a headshot. It's like a strange Hail Mary mechanic, and if you think that you're screwed, maybe you can try to knife. And I kinda just love how silly it looks. There's a total of 4 arena-style maps in Red Steel. Each one is based on a level from the single player. Dojo, Restaurant, Docks, and Games. I think Restaurant and Dojo are serviceable maps. The Dojo is a bit boring, with a bunch of simple rooms and a second floor, while the Restaurant is a bit more interesting, but always seemed a little bit too big for a 4-player game. On the other hand, Docks is a solid map that we would often do sniper duels on, since it was the only one with 2 different sniper nests. To me, Games is the most iconic map for Red Steel Versus. It's a solid size, and it's really only got a few places to hide. There's a small red room on the bottom of the stage that a lot of people will spawn in, and you can kind of spawn camp it a bit, but typically you can juke the other way and get away if you need to. Games is just, to me, what Red Steel is. When I think of what Red Steel Versus looks like, I think of Games. The weapons and armor are pretty well laid out. You generally don't want a big map when the games have such low movement speed and only 4 players at a time. We're talking the most iconic maps here in FPS history. Blood Gulch, Dust 2, and of course, Red Steel Games. The character selection became a big part of my nostalgia for Red Steel. They're all functionally the same. Every character is just a reskin of the others, and the first-person models don't even change. But when you play a game with friends long enough, people tend to get associated with certain characters. That guy's a Wario guy, that guy's a Donkey Kong guy, it's just how it goes. The playable characters are all imported from the campaign, so most of them are chefs or waiters or other Yakuza members, but the game's mission in the campaign had you going through this weird Chuck E. Cheese type thing, so you end up with a bunch of these wacky characters like the Masked Man and the Superhero. Dino Boy was by far the top tier character. What's not to love about running around shooting guys with a discount Halloween costume? If it wasn't clear already, Red Steel is a very buggy, janky game, and when you're playing the versus mode for months at a time, you tend to learn about different bugs that you can mess around with. In the restaurant level, you can easily hop out of bounds by jumping off from the second story. You can't really do anything here, you can't even shoot people through the floor or anything, but it's always fun to be in an area that you're not supposed to. And also when you die, this happens.
I can come snipe.
When I came back to record the footage, I was pretty sure that you could clip out of the docks level too, but we couldn't find the right spot to do it. But in the time, we also noticed that the sniper rifle animation doesn't even work when you reload. Speaking of animations, if you spam the A button a bunch, your hand starts contorting in all sorts of weird ways. You can tell they put a lot of time into Red Steel multiplayer. But when it came to Red Steel, of course we would want to see who was better at the game than the other. I mentioned turning off the lock-on system, that was something that we did a lot, but also we would sometimes do no knives or just pistols only. And we would come up with a few rules that we would use to sort of balance the game in a way. It boiled down to a pure test of just pistol headshots. Does that remind you of anything? Of course, at the end of the day, I'm being a bit facetious about the whole Red Steel multiplayer thing. I called the video the Red Steel Metagame. I guess there's a metagame, but metagames only really exist when there's a bunch of people playing a game enough. Not like 5 or 6 guys huddled around a CRT. I've always sort of believed that you could technically play any competitive game competitively. Like the rest of the game, the versus mode isn't that good. But there is something to be said about playing a game locally and having a group of folks come together every Friday or whatever and play one game. Regardless of its popularity or its skill ceiling, we unironically put a lot of time into Red Steel. We were just having fun, messing around and doing what we wanted to do. And for a few years, what we wanted to do happened to be Red Steel. 4-player, local multiplayer is not really a priority for anybody these days. When it comes to FPS, local multiplayer just isn't really in the picture anymore. But at the time, it was nice to have something to mix in with the Wii Sports and the Mario Karts. Sometime later, Red Steel also actually got a sequel on the Wii, Red Steel 2, and it's actually a solid game. It has nothing to do with the first game, but I really think it's pretty good. It's definitely on the list of games that I want to cover here on the channel. So that was the Red Steel multiplayer metagame. But what I want to know is, did anyone out there play this game multiplayer competitively, like at all? I'm really curious because it felt like we couldn't have been the only ones who poured all this time into this. Other than that, let me know what sort of local multiplayer games you grew up with. I'd be really curious to see how things have changed throughout the years. What do you got? Let me know. I've always wanted to sort of talk about Red Steel's multiplayer because we did put so much time into it. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe, maybe like the video. I'd appreciate it. And I'll catch you next time.